Hi everyone, my name's Juliet Raine. I'm a physiotherapist and originally I was asked to present to you about how to stay fit when you're travelling for work. But obviously in light of the changes that have happened over the last few months, we thought that we'd adapt the subject a little bit and we would try and make it relevant for people who are working from home, people who will be travelling for work in the future, people who are maybe furloughed at the moment and need to be returning to a more active job, and also for people who are supporting teams and trying to get them back into work. So I'm just going to share my screen with you and then go through the presentation. Okay, so there we go. Just a little bit about me. So I qualified as a physiotherapist in 2005 from Northumbria University in Newcastle. I worked up there for 3 years in the NHS and then I moved into private practice. I worked with a wonderful team for several years and fine-tuned my skills as a musculoskeletal specialist. And I also discovered the world of ergonomics there. And I've been working in that field since 2008. For the past 7 years, I've been working independently, offering physiotherapy and ergonomics consultancy services with a real focus on injury prevention in the workplace. I found that my work was gravitating towards London, so I moved down there shortly after I set up. Over the years, as technology improved, I found that I was spending more and more time supporting my clients remotely, with the occasional face-to-face visit to provide an assessment or present some training. So in 2018, we made the decision that my husband and I would move to his hometown in Sardinia. I'm what you call a nomadic worker. When I travel for work, I set myself up in hotel rooms, the houses of friends, clients' locations, coffee shops, pretty much anywhere you can imagine. The majority of my work now happens from my home here in Sardinia, and I usually travel back and forth every 6 to 8 weeks to see clients in the UK. This experience has taught me why it is so important to stay fit and injury-free when travelling with work. As you can see from my location maps here, things have changed somewhat for me in the past 3 months. Previously, I would be all over the place, but in the past 3 months, I have been well and truly in lockdown here in our little town, but still able to support my clients through this minefield of changes in the UK. So what is today about? As I said, the scope of the talk has been adjusted slightly. What I really want to touch on today are the 3 basic types of exercise, how exercise impacts on your health and well-being, the influence of your posture and normal activities on fitness, and I want to outline for you ways that you can introduce exercise into your day at work or at home when out and about. I also want us to think about the impact of deconditioning for people who normally work in a manual setting and who are currently furloughed or working in a different role, and why it's vital that they perform task-specific exercises before they return to work. So, in a nutshell, there are 3 different aspects of exercise, and the main 3 are cardiovascular, strength, and flexibility. On the whole, any exercise can kind of fit into one or more of these categories. For example, if we think about balance, balance requires strength of very specific muscle groups. Running at speed requires strength and power, but also an element of cardiovascular capacity. Some strengthening exercises may require or promote flexibility, such as yoga type exercise. We need to strive for a balance between these 3 elements for our body to work efficiently. So we've probably all heard of cardiovascular exercise. Some of us love it and some of us hate it. In essence, it's any activity that gets your heart going and increases your breathing rate. And it really is different for everyone. It could be a brisk walk, it could be skipping, mountain climbers, burpees, jumping jacks, jogging, swimming, cycling. But for some people, it could just be getting up and walking to the toilet. That might give them a really tough cardiovascular workout. It really depends on your current level of fitness and your overall health and well-being. So what are the benefits? We're probably all aware of the fact that cardiovascular exercise will help to improve the cardiovascular system. But what does that really mean and how does it happen? As we exercise, our muscles require energy, increasing the demand for oxygen. This forces the heart to respond by beating faster and harder to get the blood, which carries the oxygen, around the body quicker. The respiration rate increases to provide sufficient oxygen to meet that demand. Over time, working the heart muscles and lungs in this way helps them to improve their functions. The heart becomes stronger and actually becomes bigger, just like any muscle that works hard. And with each beat, it then has a greater capacity to send the blood around the body. This means it's more efficient and can lead to a reduction in your blood pressure and your resting heart rate. This has a positive effect on reducing the risk of heart disease and stroke. So when we do cardiovascular exercise, we also burn calories and we boost the metabolism, getting a peak in metabolic rate just after vigorous exercise. This can help to reduce or maintain a healthy weight. As well as burning the calories, it actually helps to regulate your blood sugar levels. It does this by increasing your sensitivity to insulin. And studies have shown that in some cases, type 2 diabetes, which is very much related to health, weight, and lifestyle, can actually be reversed through a combination of exercise and a healthy diet. On top of all of this, exercise also strengthens the immune system. It reduces the level of cortisol in the blood, which is responsible for inflammation in the body, and increases the presence of immunoglobulin antibodies. They fight infection. The studies have shown that with just a 20-minute brisk walk, the inflammatory markers of the blood can actually be reduced. This might be one of the mechanisms that's responsible for moderate intensity exercise, helping to combat and reduce chronic pain. Another benefit of exercise, which has received a lot of press coverage lately, is the positive effect on mood. It really can help reduce anxiety and depression. This occurs as the body releases endorphins when we exercise. These are our body's natural painkillers and mood boosters. They also suppress the production of cortisol at the same time. Cortisol plays a function in promoting feelings of tension and anxiety. Studies over at least the last 20 years have suggested that exercise can be more powerful than medications that are prescribed for depression and anxiety. And recently, we've been hearing more and more reports around the whole world of exercise actually being prescribed by doctors. And I think that is a really, really positive step. Our other two aspects of fitness are strength and flexibility. Hopefully everyone agrees that the more you perform an exercise, be it weightlifting, sit-ups or running, the better we become, just like any skill. This is not only due to the improved strength and endurance of the muscles, but also due to the muscle memory created by the repetition of the movements involved. This trains the neuromuscular connections, allowing us to perform an activity with more ease. The strength and capability you build, however, is very, very much activity specific. For example, an Olympic weightlifter has a very different kind of strength when compared to a swimmer or a runner, not just from the cardiovascular aspect, but from the strength and composition of their muscle fibers. It's also true that if you always just perform the exact same exercises or routine, you will reach a plateau of improvements. This is why it's important that if you want to improve, you must cross-train. For example, somebody who's training for the marathon isn't advised to just go running. They're actually advised to do various strengthening exercises and to ensure that they maintain their flexibility in their muscles so that they continue to be efficient. For people who are serious about their sport, there is a whole world of science behind their exercise programs. I could go into this in depth, but we'd probably be here all day, so I'm going to leave it there for now. To build our strength, we need to work the muscles against resistance. This could simply be against gravity and body weight, or the use of elastic resistance bands or weights. Depending on your aim, you may need to do a high number of reps with a low weight, or work towards a 1 repetition max exercise. The muscles will become stronger and more efficient in the range in which they're used. So for example, if we use a muscle through its full range, such as a biceps curl with a weight in the hand, the muscle will become stronger throughout the range. If we work in a sort of squat position regularly, so our job demands that we're squatting down, the muscles in the legs, hips and back will adapt to be able to support that position for more and more time. Flexibility is the third aspect of exercise and fitness. If we simply build strength, it's likely that our muscles will become short and tight. We've all seen the muscle men in the gyms with their arms pulled forwards, or a weekend five-a-side player with incredibly tight hamstrings. Like anything in life, we need to find a healthy balance between strength and flexibility. Warm-ups, cool-downs and stretching should form a part of your usual routine to ensure that your body can function as it was designed to and without restriction. There are two aspects of flexibility. One are the joints of the body themselves, which may actually be stiff, perhaps due to age-related processes, injury or lack of use. For example, if I don't lift my shoulder up above my head on a regular basis, at a certain point it will start to become tight because the ligaments that support the joint will become a little bit tight. So I won't be able to reach that end of range movement. The second is the flexibility of the muscles and the contractile tissue themselves. And this is more closely related to posture, previous injury, and the way our body is used. To maintain or improve flexibility, we must help the joints to move to the end of their range and lengthen the soft tissues, which are ligaments, tendons, and muscles. We can do that with classic stretching things over like this, stretching over like here, the things we used to do in a PE lesson. We can stretch out the shoulders, the legs, do hip circles, all those sorts of things. We can choose to stretch dynamically, where we move in and out of the posture, or we can hold a stretch for longer. There's a lot of research and evidence behind different ways to stretch, and the guidance changes every now and then. So we're not going to enter into a discussion right now about what way is best to stretch and for what reasons, but just to know there are lots of different ways to stretch. You can also use techniques such as massage or trigger point release to help relax the muscles and lengthen the fibers. There are a lot of massage techniques that you can do yourself using a massage ball such as this, or even a tennis ball. You could also use a foam roller. So this is my foam roller that I have here. At the end of the presentation, I'm going to show you a few of the foam roller techniques, but also how to use a massage ball as well. The other way to promote flexibility is to do exercises such as yoga or Pilates, where you not only build strength and stability, but promote the flexibility through sequences of movements. So it isn't all just about stretching and holding for 30 seconds. And in fact, for some people, maybe those who have very, very tight bits of their body, or who are naturally hypermobile, so naturally more flexible, for those, maybe a simple stretch won't be enough to help improve their flexibility. So, as we have just outlined, just to make sure they're all going, fitness requires a balance between these three factors. We need cardiovascular fitness, strength, and flexibility. The body becomes stronger in the positions in which it's used. This is very important when we think about a working context. Our bodies become used to the activities we do every single day. We become work hardened. Someone who works in a factory, working in confined spaces and handling various weights all day long will build up a resilience to that kind of activity. This builds slowly over time. Likewise, if we spend a lot of time sitting at work or at home, our body is going to adapt to that posture as well. So you'll find that the hamstring muscles at the back of the thighs, so if you imagine you're sitting, we've got our knees bent, sitting here, the muscles behind your legs actually can become shorter, as do the muscles in the groins, your hip flexors, because of that sitting position. They're not getting lengthened throughout the day. The muscles at the back, our gluteal muscles, can become longer and often weaker. If we then adopt also a stooped posture, we find that the muscles at the front of our body also become shorter, and the muscles at the back become longer and often weaker. So posture has a big effect on how our body works. A very anxious person who always has their shoulders up towards their ears is likely to have very, very tight trapezius muscles. All of the postures you adopt during the day will have an effect on how your body is working. there will be a direct link to how efficient your body is, as well as to your risk of injury. Thinking again about our seated worker, if they never do anything to promote the lengthening of their tight muscles, like their hamstrings, if they then try and perform a vigorous exercise with that muscle group, their risk of injury is greater. So this means that if they go out at the weekend and play football, which requires strength, power, change in direction, they may well have a much greater risk of pulling their hamstring muscles than they would have done if they actually took some time to lengthen them as well. Maintaining the flexibility in the muscles and joints helps the body to be efficient, but also helps to prevent that strain and injury. So if you work all day in a particular posture or perform a repetitive task, it is possible to stop from adapting into this negative effect from your posture. How do we do that? We do that with active micro breaks, with task rotation at work, or with exercise out of the workplace. So people who work in a factory and they're always doing a certain activity, we found that actually one really great way of preventing injury with them is to make sure that they not only do that task, but they do a task that uses their body in a very, very different way. So they rotate their tasks around. For somebody who is sitting all day at work, so somebody who's working in an office, somebody who's working from home at the moment, micro breaks are great because it gets you up and it gets you moving and it breaks those postures. They're very, very, very simple. If we can break the posture, get the blood going around the body, that really can help. So let's do one together now. We've all been here watching these presentations. Most likely you're sat in front of your computer, your laptop, or your tablet. Before we break our posture, I just want you to perform a quick body scan. Have a really good think about exactly how you feel right now. So just take a moment. Are you feeling tired and sleepy? Are you feeling quite awake? Let's see if you can sort of rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. Have a think about whether you're aware of any tightness in any muscles, any discomfort, any pain, or any other symptoms such as pins and needles, eye fatigue, or headache. Okay, so I want you to just paint yourself a mental picture, and then we're going to compare it in a moment after we've done our 1 minute break. Okay, so we're going to break our posture. If you've got any injuries, just go gently. Okay, you shouldn't feel any pain when doing a micro break at all. So if you know something will cause you pain, just miss out that movement. If not, join me. Up on your feet. Let me just adjust my camera just a little bit so I can guide you all. So up on your feet, we're going to start just by marching and getting the arms going. Okay, are you all up on your feet? I hope so. And then just add in, so keep marching with your feet, add in some nice arm movements. Okay, so we're just going to open up the arms, get that blood going. Okay. Then what we're going to do is we're going to do some big rolls of the shoulders. We're going to roll backwards, okay? Most of us spend most of the day like this. So I want you to roll the shoulders backwards. Let's open up the chest, get the shoulder blades moving on top of the ribs, get the blood flowing in that area, okay? Then we're going to do some movements of the wrists. So let's twist those wrists, open and close the hands, get the fingers going as well, okay? And then what we're going to do is we're going to start moving the neck. So have a little look up and down. Maybe have a little look side to side. You might want to roll the neck down in front of you. All the time if you can, keep on marching. Let's get that blood going through the body. Okay, let's give that neck a nice little roll. Give the shoulders another roll again. Stop marching for a second and give the ankles a little circle. So a little circle with the ankles. Do one and then the other. Let's do some nice hip circles. So I love hip circles. Round and round with the hips and pelvis. Often you find certain parts of the movement that are a little bit stiff, so push into those parts. Go around the other way, so we've done a couple one way. Let's take it the other way, you'll find some different parts of stiffness. And then for those of you who don't have a problem with your back, we're going to do some touching of our toes. So reaching up, bending forwards, and see if you can get down towards your knees or your toes. And then roll it back up. We're just going to do that twice more as long as you're not feeling dizzy. So reach up, all the way down. And then roll it back up. Great. One last time. All the way. And then roll it back up. Okay, good. Sit yourself back down. So that was about a minute or so. How are we feeling? How are your energy levels? How does your body feel? Okay, hopefully we're feeling a little bit more alert, perhaps a little bit warmer. Perhaps we feel less tension, maybe around our neck, our back, our shoulders. If you imagine doing that frequently, that's how we can really prevent the buildup of problems related to posture. Obviously, you also need to do exercise and to move away from the desk, but at least it's a start. Micro breaks are great for that. For any of you who've suddenly started working from home and have been working in maybe not the most ideal postures, it's likely that you will have developed some discomfort. Start doing some micro breaks and see if that can help you get through the day without these problems. For anyone who's looking after the health and well-being of people in their workplace, people who are now working from home, people like that, have you encouraged your teams to take micro breaks? Do you see people doing it? I once worked with a great tech company who installed a buzzer in their office. When somebody felt that they needed a micro break, they actually went to the buzzer in the office, they sounded the buzzer, and then for 30 seconds, everybody had to take an active micro break. They saw a real improvement in levels of discomfort, but also in team cohesion, as it gave people a positive non-work sort of communal focus. And it was a direct benefit for every person. It really got them talking about it, laughing about it together. Anyway, that's a different thing. But really, really important that we do encourage people to take these little micro breaks because they are so effective. So, the bodies of people who have physical jobs will also adapt to their activities. They will have task-specific strength and flexibility. Very quickly, when someone stops that kind of work, their job-specific fitness will reduce. They will become deconditioned, just like someone who once ran a marathon, okay? They then don't run for years. They can't expect to just suddenly one day stick on their shoes and run a marathon again. It's true that due to their muscle memory, the neuromuscular movement patterning, they should be able to return to a marathon standard with much more ease in comparison to the first time that they trained for the marathon. But they will still have to retrain their body to ensure that they complete the marathon without injury. The same applies to anyone who has a physical job. They really should be made aware of this, especially if they've been furloughed during the lockdown. They're going to be deconditioned. For these people, it is absolutely critical that they perform exercise in a way that mimics their usual working activities. Otherwise, we can expect significant problems as they return to the workplace due to their deconditioning. Someone who works in a confined space, moves items around in a small space, they have to try and work out a way that they can mimic those postures and perform resisted exercise in those positions. Someone who's kneeling down on one leg should perform exercise in that position. Someone who works overhead must perform movements or find tasks above their head. Without that, it's much more likely that they're going to return to work and experience pain or injury. If managers are not already in contact with their teams and encouraging them to perform these exercise programs now would be the time to think about it. I would highly encourage anybody responsible for the health and well-being of their workers to think about what will be expected of their employees when they return to their tasks, and if they're going to be fit for this kind of work or not. If not, they should work with their occupational health teams, their company physiotherapist, or an independent consultant such as me to help identify ways in which we can prevent the deconditioning process or reverse it if it's already happening. Okay, so we've seen that exercise can help to reduce the inflammatory response, regulate our blood sugars, improve mood, reduce weight, fight diabetes, stroke and heart disease. It can help us sleep better, it can reduce pain, it can prevent injury. But how much should we be doing? We're all generally less active now due to technology, changes in culture and lifestyle, and with the recent lockdown, that has increased for many, many people. We drive, we use machines for manual work, we watch TV, we sit at work, we use computers, we don't even print anything anymore. We've got virtual meetings and conference calls. So I believe that actually we should probably be doing much more than the official guidelines guide us. Okay, so the official guidelines state that to maintain a good level of health, we should be performing strengthening exercises 2 days per week. Okay, so that's strengthening the legs, the hip, the back, the abdomen, the chest, the shoulders, the arms, all of that. It also guides us that we should do 150 minutes of moderate cardiovascular activity or 75 minutes of vigorous activity every single week. Of course, you could choose to do all of that on one day, and that would comply with the government guidelines. But I think it's much better to spread your time out over a few sessions, which may mean that you end up doing much, much more than the recommended guidelines. That's good if you can. If you are new to exercise, it's recommended that you start with moderate levels of activity and gradually move to more vigorous activity as and when your fitness allows. The other thing that's very important to remember is that it doesn't always have to be formal exercise like an hour-long exercise class. Every time you decide to walk to the shops instead of taking the car, for example, or every time that you take the stairs rather than the lift, or every time that you choose to walk just a little bit faster when you take your dog out, you're contributing to the 150-minute goal. Okay, so it's not just that if you walk slowly, that then means that you're doing your moderate activity. That might be low-level activity for cardiovascular exercise. It has to leave you just a little bit out of breath if possible. The important thing is to try and achieve the balance between cardiovascular, strength, and flexibility. So if it's as simple as I say to introduce this exercise, why aren't we all doing it? Well, obviously there are some common barriers to exercise. Firstly, people may simply be unaware of the importance of or what they should be doing. Perhaps if they've never tried certain types of exercise, or they lack the knowledge of how to build in strengthening exercise to their normal workout. Another problem might be space. Not everyone has access to a park or garden, and they may not have a lot of space free in their home, or certainly if their kids at home, they might be tripping over their kids or their pets. Time and finances are always classic barriers to many things, and exercise is absolutely no exception. It may be that somebody, because they lack the know-how, they want to attend a gym or use a service of a personal trainer so that somebody can guide them in what they need to do. Finding the time and the money to do that can really be tricky. Perhaps your working hours or commuting are not compatible with the times of a class in the gym in your area. Our free time is something many of us has found has changed dramatically during the lockdown. Some people have been given a lot more free time. So people maybe who have been furloughed and they're not expected to be working at the moment, or they no longer have that hour-long commute to and from work, they may suddenly feel that they've found time to invest in themselves. And I certainly know of a lot of people who've taken up exercise every single day because they've suddenly got this free time on their hands. However, others might be living a very, very different reality. I'm thinking especially of parents who are working from home and they're juggling homeschooling along with their own work. They might have more than one child and they feel that they cannot really find time for themselves. In these cases, it might be necessary to find ways to combine exercise with other activities and other commitments. So you might have been used to going to a gym in the past, and suddenly you're unable to go anymore. Most of us don't have a gym at home, and so you might not have the equipment that you used previously. Perhaps you used to use free weights on the running machine. So we'll talk about that on our next slide, how we can hopefully introduce some remedies for that. Studies have also shown that motivation or lack of motivation is a major factor when it relates to exercise. It can be hard for us to motivate ourselves to exercise, even if you know what you could be doing and how beneficial it could be for your health. And finally, travel, the original scope of this talk. Those of us who travel for work may have long journeys, we may stay in hotels, not spend more than a few days or weeks in one location before moving on, so we can't join a gym necessarily. This can make it hard to maintain an exercise routine. So how can we make sure that we do enough exercise? And especially, how can we do it if we're working from home and not able to get to a gym or a pool? Exercise needs to become a conscious part of your routine. You don't have to do long sessions. It could be 10 or 15 minutes at a time. It could be taking a short, brisk walk instead of your commute in the mornings or after work. A brisk walk is defined as anything 3 miles an hour or faster, or anything that raises your heart rate and breathing rate slightly. You could decide that at certain times of each day, your phone and your computer is turned off and you follow a class online. or you go for a run. The important thing is that it becomes an active decision to include activity in your day. The activity could come in the form of micro breaks. We've just done one now, it lasted just 1 minute. Perhaps rather than just doing 1 minute, you decide on top of that movement, you're also going to run up and down the stairs a few times. You might want to do some push-ups, you might want to do some other activities, and that could build up to 5 minutes or more. Something that leaves you slightly breathless is always going to add to this contribution of 150 minutes per week. Perhaps when you're on conference calls, you could blank your video, get up, get moving during the conference call, walk when you're on the phone. It's another great idea. If we get back into the office, perhaps you introduce walking meetings rather than sitting in a meeting room. Remember that knowledge is power. Make sure you know what facilities there are in your local area and what services are offered by your employer. You might live close to a trim trail. That's where you find the pieces of equipment in the park to do exercises on. Inform yourself of what kind of exercise you can do, how you can do it in your home, and how to progress the exercises so they become more difficult, so you can improve. To increase your knowledge, you might start following a personal trainer on social. You might actually book a virtual session with a trainer or physiotherapist so that you can make sure that what you're doing is suitable for you and it's safe. They'll be able to give you loads of ideas for the kinds of exercises you can do, how to integrate them into your day. For example, they may advise you to link certain common activities, such as boiling the kettle or going to the loo, with exercise. So, for example, every time you go to the loo, do some wall pushes, or some burpees or star jumps. Every time you boil a kettle, don't just stand still, do some fast running on the spot. They'll be able to design a plan for you that works for your day, your situation. And then you can follow it or follow an online group class and do that safely. We're so lucky now that as a result of lockdown, pretty much everybody has gone online, and there are now hundreds and hundreds of free resources out there to take advantage of. Just make sure that you're confident what you're doing suits you and isn't going to cause you any problems. And if you're not sure, seek some advice. As I mentioned before, motivation is a major barrier to many people. So why not think about teaming up with friends or colleagues or even family members to do your exercise? Why not do a family HIIT class on Zoom? Or you could all register for a 30-day challenge. You could introduce playtime with your kids and use that as exercise. Why not even let them design an obstacle course or a new game? This will stimulate their creativity while improving your fitness at the same time. Perhaps you and your friends want to track your steps or your active minutes and create your own competition. It's much more likely that you will complete exercises if you're accountable to someone. So let a friend know you're going to do an online class. Maybe invite them to join you as well. And then maybe you can discuss it later over a video call. That's much more likely, it's going to make you much more likely to actually adhere to that plan. Have a really good look around your home. What can you use as exercise equipment? Maybe you don't have an exercise bench, but you have a normal chair. Maybe you don't have a resistance band, but you have an old pair of tights. Maybe you don't have any weights, but you could use a suitcase, case of water, tins of food. You don't have an exercise step, but there's a step, or you've got stairs in your house. Maybe there's a step into your front or back door. You could use that to do some kind of aerobic exercise. Do you have a bike? Could you get out for a ride? Do you live near a green space or have a garden? Could you get out and do laps of the park? If you would prefer to have some equipment, have a look online, pick up some bits and pieces. Sometimes having some kit at home can make exercise much more fun and much more rewarding, such as an exercise ball or a small set of weights, or perhaps even an exercise bike or some boxing gloves with pads. Don't go crazy and buy it all at once. Get something, see how it goes, see if you actually do integrate it into your fitness. So the worst thing you could do is spend lots and lots of money and then everything just sits gathering dust in the corner. Maybe talk to your family about what would work for all of you, something that you could share, something that's going to bring you together to do the exercise. But most importantly, we need to plan. It is amazing how quickly the day flies past. It's easy for the whole day to go past and you've just been in your chair, you've not really been out. Maybe you've popped to the loo a couple of times, or you've been to pop to eat lunch for 15 minutes. It's important that you plan your routine. plan playtime with kids, plan a longer walk with the dog, plan that exercise class that you're going to do, plan your micro breaks, make sure that you're doing them every hour, something like that. Know when you want to increase the intensity of your exercise and maybe plan for a shower or change of clothes after it as well if necessary. If you are travelling for work, have a look at a map when you're selecting your hotel. Think about selecting somewhere near a big open space, such as a park or a hotel that has a gym or a pool. You could then plan your work diary to allow time to take advantage of those facilities. Take what you need with you. It might just be shorts and a t-shirt and your trainers. Maybe you take a massage ball, maybe a ball that you can inflate if you want to do some more intense exercise. But try to maintain your routine if possible. So I'm just going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to share some practical ideas with you. Okay, here we are. Okay, so let me just bring this down here. So here is my massage ball. So I wanted to show you how we can use the massage ball. So the massage ball is a super piece of kit. And as you can see, it's so small. I take these traveling when I go away with me. And we can use it to do a massage. So imagine I'm getting tight in my arm because I'm doing a lot of typing. Maybe I've got some tennis elbow. I could actually give myself quite a nice release technique using the ball. I've got it on a towel here because actually on a desk surface it tends to just fly away from me. So we could do that. We can obviously do the other side. We can do up into the triceps. We can do all sorts of things. Or bring it back. We could put the ball between ourselves and our chair or a wall. If you imagine there's a wall behind us, we can lie on them. There's lots and lots of different ways that we can use our massage balls. Same with the foam roller. So I'm just going to close this, get down onto the floor in a second. Okay, so hopefully you can see me if I am down here. Okay, so we talked about the massage ball. As I say, you can use it to do treatment release points, so we can sit on it and get into there. We can lie down on the massage ball and just make sure that we've got the massage ball loosening up the muscles of our back. Lots of different ways. For our foam roller, if I bring that over, again, another great piece of kit. Obviously, if you're traveling, very, very difficult to take this with you. Not going to fit in your suitcase. But they do come in smaller versions. We can use it to loosen up our back. So we can use it to stretch, arching back over the roller. We can use it to perform a massage of our back. So we just lift up the pelvis and scoot ourselves forwards and backwards. Okay. We can use it for our glutes. So we can sit up on the roller, pop that glute on a stretch, and then roll it out. Okay, so we can do all of that. We can use it for the muscles in the back of the leg. Cross our legs over to put more weight through there. Use it for our calves. We can use it for the front of our thighs. We can use it for everything, okay? So it's a really great way to do a sports massage for ourselves when we're at home. Okay, now, we mentioned before using different weights. Okay, so things that you've got around the house. You might have a weighted doorstop that you can use to do some kind of weights. You might have little bottles of water or tins. These can be really, really good, even if they're small weights. If we're doing some stability work, for example, we start pushing up a bit higher, even a small weight can be really great. And certainly doing things like Pilates, something of about 1 kilogram can be really, really good. So have a look and see what you've got around. We could use a bigger bottle of water, so something that's that little bit heavier. So if it's 2 litres, it's going to be a couple of kilograms. So you can really get yourself working that little bit harder. Leave that there because I'll use it in a minute. As I said before, if you want, rather than having elastic bands, you've got an old pair of tights, that's going to give you a little bit of resistance as well. So you can do all sorts of bits and pieces to try and strengthen up your arms or your legs, tie it onto something and do some resistance work. So something as simple as that. Or obviously, if you want to, you can invest in various bits of equipment. So balls, bands, magic circles, and everything like that. Or our trusty suitcase. If you fill your suitcase with whatever weight feels good, remember, better to make sure it's got a consistent weight, okay? So don't just put some heavy stuff on the bottom, because when you lift it up, it's going to be unstable, so it's going to be harder for you to control. Make sure you pad things out, maybe you stick a couple of cushions in there together with the weight, so that the weight is much more central. And from there, you can then use it to do exercise. You could do press, you could do deadlift, you could do all sorts of stuff. So especially if you're traveling, these are great. But even if you're not, most of us have got these around, and you can actually do some really great exercises with them. And you might have a simple step. This is one of our little steps that I got from IKEA. You can step up and down, do lots of cardiovascular things on top of that as well. Exercises with a chair, another really, really good way to get things working a little bit harder. So you can still see me just about. We can do some nice tricep dips. So really, really nice exercise to do. Get the arms going that little bit more. We can do some leg lifts. So you brace yourself on the chair and you can lift and lower the legs. That's a really nice way to get the abdomen going. Okay, so working on the strength of your core. We could get our trusty bottle of water. We can do some reverse row. Okay, let me just put this up. In fact, I'm going to be down again in a second. Do some reverse rows. We can get our triceps going. We can open things out there. We can do some nice back stretches. So I put the chair in front of me. I can stretch out my back. We can work on the shoulder flexibility. So lifting up. Really nice way to work the shoulders. We can stick our legs up on the chair, and we can do some really nice exercises. Things like going up into bridge. We can lift a leg at a time. Lots of things that can strengthen the whole body. So looking around the house and seeing what you've got. Really good to help you out. I bring the camera back up. You might, if you've got a mat or something, you can do push-ups, you can do all sorts of things. You could do jumping jacks, you can do your lunges, you can do side lunges, you can add weight if you want to. I might want to hold my little door stopper and get myself doing some nice side lunges from side to side. I might choose to do some wall pushes. You can see me here. The further away from the wall you are, the harder it is, the more weight you can take. And just literally taking you into that lovely, lovely exercise. So lots and lots of ways. Excuse me, I'll clear everything out of the way and come back to you. There are lots and lots of different ways to introduce exercise into your home. You don't need lots of equipment. That's really, really important. But it's important that you think about what you're going to do. Okay, know that it's the right thing for you. You're going to achieve the aims that you want to achieve. And if something hurts, don't do it. Obviously, get some advice about it. So remember that we need to try and stay active for our mental and our physical health. Try to introduce activity into your routine. Aim for this magic 150 minutes of moderate CV or 75 minutes of vigorous activity. And make sure you're working on strength at least twice a week. If you do adopt certain postures, just try and break them regularly. Okay, so bad posture doesn't have to cause us lots of problems. You break them on a regular basis and you're moving, you're warming up, you're doing your micro breaks, it might actually reduce your chance of getting pain or injuries related to those postures in your working activities. If you are currently off work, so say you're furloughed or you've lost your job for now, but you're planning to return to a physical job, make sure that you prepare yourself to reduce your risks related to deconditioning. You might need to really think about what activities could mimic your normal work activities and seek help and guidance if you're not sure. If you're responsible for the health and well-being of employers, consider the benefits of exercise, both for their mental health and their physical health. Are you actively promoting it? Does it already form part of your health and well-being strategy? And have you adapted that strategy to reflect the changes in the way our world is working right now? Do you think that your workforce is really armed with the knowledge that they need to keep themselves healthy? If not, think of ways that you can communicate this to them. Think of ways that you can help them prepare themselves. consider seeking guidance if you're not sure, or if you're not sure if your strategy is even suited to the current needs, or if you require help developing any training, any assessment or information packages for your teams. Okay, so that's what I wanted to get you thinking about. I hope that this has been helpful. I hope it's highlighted why exercise is so important, and also helped to highlight some ways that you can introduce exercise into your day, even at home. If anybody's got any questions, I would be more than happy to help you now, or obviously in the future as well. Thank you very much for your time.